Coming up on this week's edition of AU Hoop Talk, we'll discuss the freshmen and their impact on the conference as a whole, and especially right here at American University. And we'll look forward to second half conference play as the Eagles open up on the road against Colgate. AU Hoop Talk with Coach Mike Brennan starts right now. Welcome into AU Hoop Talk with Coach Mike Brennan. And, Coach, let's jump right in and talk about the league and really the way that the freshmen have made such an impact. And obviously, we've talked a lot this year about your freshmen. We'll get to them in a second. But the league as a whole and the impact that the freshmen have had, we're halfway through, so you've had a chance to see everyone. And you take a look at it, you have 10 freshmen that are starting, 24 freshmen that are seeing regular minutes, and 6 freshmen that are averaging in double digits in scoring. That's pretty impressive. Why do you see that? Why do you think this conference is having so many freshmen step forward?
Well, I think just recruiting in general has gotten, just more intense, and we know about more people, more players. So we're recruiting against each other in certain, for certain kids, but for the most part, there's a lot of good players out there. So I think the league, all the coaches in the league and the staffs in the league have done a great job of going out and, seeing guys and, getting good players. And they're good. That's why they're playing. They're all the guys who played. I mean, we just played Holy Cross. They got a bunch of guys that, that I saw I liked a lot. We recruited a lot of them. So I think there's a lot of good players out there. And, they're doing well. And and a lot of the programs are just, it's cyclical. So they have the opportunity they're just in the stage where they need these guys to be able to play.
Now, when you look at just the way basketball is as a whole and the way the sport has evolved, do you place any of it on the fact that guys are playing so much more basketball than they used to, with the AAUs and all that stuff, that just guys are playing more, so therefore when they hit the college game, they're more ready to go?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they all have, they're all doing strength and conditioning, and, they're doing this stuff in high school. They're playing year round. They're lifting weights year round. I think they're way more aware. All the games on TV, I think they're way more aware of how intense and how much work they have to put in order to be ready. And they're playing on the AAU circuit, like you said, and playing against these like a lot of big time players, and so they see the bodies and the athleticism that's out there. So I think it lets them know at an early age what they need to do.
And that probably also plays into maybe confidence, because if they're seeing success at that level and at the high school level, then again, when they hit the high school stride, regardless of what level it's at, they're confident, because if they've been playing against some of these guys that are in a Power 5 conference, then maybe you go, wow, okay, if I can play against that, then I definitely can here. And that just, they come in with more confidence.
No lack of confidence with any of these guys, whether it's warranted or not. A lot of them think just because they were in some AAU gym somewhere on the same court with some player that it's like, oh, I played against him. Well, that doesn't, it shouldn't warrant as much confidence as it does. But yeah, I mean, for example, Iorio, we talk about him a ton. But, I mean, he had really good summers playing. He had a great high school career, won a lot of games, against a lot of good players. So, I think they're just more ready these days.
Now, Alex Petrie, the guy that right now leads freshmen in this conference as far as scoring goes with Lafayette, how was he as a guy that saw coming up? Was he a guy that was really heralded? Was he more of a guy that kind of was a little bit below the radar screen?
We had him on campus, recruited him. He's one of those. So there's all the reclassing and declassing, and so he was a senior, then he was a junior, then he was a senior. So that's sort of everyone. I think everyone thought that he was going to play another year in high school, or most people did. Mm-hmm. And he wound up just popping for Lafayette. So people knew about him. Knew he was a really good player. And them obviously losing Linder last year allowed for him to get a lot of minutes, and he's taken advantage of it, and he's good enough to take advantage of it.
And, of course, they have Jaworski as well. So he comes in. He's another double-digit guy as far as scoring goes.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like their backcourt. I like their backcourt. Two guys that we recruited and, know how to play. Just, tough competitors, good kids. So as much as I'm not looking forward to playing him anymore, but I do, like both of those kids and like what they're about.
And that says pretty good things about the future of this conference. That these guys are coming in, they're good players, they're exciting players, and that says good things about where the conference is headed.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, like I said, I mean, and it's not stopping. We're all on the road, and I see these guys all. It seems like every gym I go to. But yeah, another. I wouldn't be surprised if another class comes in and does similar things. But yeah, hopefully, and I like our guys.
Sure.
I like everything that and we talk about it here all the time. But everything that our young group is doing. So it's just getting them experience and game action.
So let's go over some of your guys. Again, we talk about Iorio, every show ad nauseum, but he leads your team right now in rebounding. He is, one of the leaders in scoring. He's in double digits there. He's had a number of double doubles. So he comes in, makes an immediate impact for you guys, and that's not a shock to you.
Not a shock. It should be, just to see a freshman doing so well. But he's a beast. He just and he does it in practice too. It's he's I should rest him more probably in games, but I don't want to. But he's not the type of freshman or the type of player just in general that comes in after playing, 30 something minutes as a freshman and he wants to take a rest or not go hard in warm ups or whatever it may be. He's ready to go right away. And the way the schedule is set up this year, it's not easy. We're playing a game, practicing twice, playing a game, practicing twice for about 2 weeks straight. So that's a grind. So for him to sort of show up each day and practice with the expectation that he's going to work and that he does work is impressive.
Marvin Bragg, fifth on the team in minutes. What are you seeing out of him?
He asked for a sub the other day. He got tired because he was playing a ton. Normally you're just trying to get young guys in there and hope just see how long they can survive before you need to take them out. But just with the position that we're in this year, he's an important guy for us, and I don't want to take him out. So he was in the game for a while, and he going up and down. He's like, Coach, I thought he got hurt or something, but he was just tired because it was probably the longest stretch that he's played consecutively, which is good and bad. I was happy that that he's able to push through up until whatever the minute mark it was. But I want to get these guys as much experience as possible because I think they can be good.
And a guy that seems to be seeing a little bit more experience is Stacey Beckton. What are you seeing from him here as we're midway through the season?
Yeah, well, once he was able to practice with us consistently, he's just able to he picks things up very quickly. And especially in the last game, just his confidence and just being out on the court offensively and defensively, I think he made a jump. So again, it's just continuing to work with these guys and they show up and they give you the effort, and when they see improvement themselves, it sort of helps for the next practice and the next game.
And Jesse Little's made some big plays for you guys at times this year. He's 6'10", about $175 or so. Do you see him filling out some? Are you working on that with him a little bit?
Yeah, obviously we're during the season it's hard to put on weight, especially for a guy like that. It's hard for him to put. He won't be putting on weight until he's 27. But as long as he's as strong as he can be, his game isn't about strength. It's just about toughness and energy and sort of effort, relentlessness. So that's been there. So as long as he can sort of maintain that, sustain it throughout the year, I'll be happy. Or I'm happy with him so far. So if he can just keep it up, we'll be happy with his freshman year.
Let's jump into Holy Cross, that game for just a second. Boy, what a back and forth affair that was. 13 lead changes. The game was tied 9 different times. I mean, I can't even imagine what you were thinking and what was going through your mind just as the flow of the game kept changing.
Yeah. Well, it's their defense is difficult, especially for young guys or for any group, just because it's different. So you have to practice different things, and it's not just straight man-to-man where guys are just comfortable doing what they normally do. It's like a matchup zone and a 1-3-1. So there's a lot of reading, and for young guys, it can stifle them a lot and take away not only their aggression but just knowing what to do, when to do it. So I was, for the most part, I thought we got good looks. And it was the first time that we went against them, a team that actually practices that defense over and over and over. So I was happy with our looks. I was happy, with the defense for the most part. We got some good, some open looks. We just didn't knock them down. I feel, as good as you can feel going into playing them the second time around.
Now, having such a young team, or frankly, for that matter, any team, you play 3 games in 5 days, capped off by the Monday game against Holy Cross. Now you're in a stretch of 1 game in like 6 days. For a team like this, would you rather be playing games, or would you rather be having time in practice?
Definitely practice time, especially at this point. But to be honest, what they needed most during this break was just a break. I mean, they've been going pretty hard for a pretty long stretch here without a break. So we gave them 2 days off. They definitely needed that just to sort of recoup mentally and more or physically and more so mentally. So hopefully we'll have a good couple practices and be ready to sort of do it all again the second half here.
And move on. And that's what we'll do. It's time for our first time out here on AU Hoop Talk. Back with more right after this.
In the Patriot League, our playbooks look a little different. Here, we play to win on the field, in the classroom, and in the community. A competitive athletic experience with high academic standards. Today's scholar athlete, tomorrow's leaders. That's the Patriot League.
Welcome to our sleepy little college town. You may have heard of us. Here we stand up for causes as naturally as we sit down for classes. We believe that knowledge, understanding, and discovery will make the world a better place, and that our contributions are only limited by our imaginations. Words, medals, and degrees don't make us who we are. Meaningful change does.
We are American.
And there's nothing we would rather be.
Welcome back to AU Hoop Talk, and so coming off an exciting weekend here at American University, a chance to bring back the 10th year anniversary team, the first team that got to the NCAA Tournament. And just for you were on Jeff Jones' coaching staff at the time, and I know that you guys had a chance to rewatch the game in a setting with a lot of the guys. That had to have been pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it was the first time a lot of those guys had seen the game. A bunch of them said since then. So it was a lot of fun. It was a great staff, a great group. Everyone enjoyed sort of, being in that setting. I was an assistant then, so they still, I wasn't the guy necessarily yelling at them all the time, so they still kind of liked me, I think, anyway. But it was funny watching, like Nick Kendra was only a freshman, so, he went on to obviously be, a terrific player here, and wound up being one of the hardest workers and a defender and all this, but he wasn't quite that as a freshman. So we're watching the interaction between him and Coach Jones at some point during the game. But that was fun, listening to them just reminisce and, talking smack to each other as the game's going on and everything. But, we had a great time, great get together. It was fun seeing all those guys, and hopefully we can do it again soon.
It was good to see that they seem to still have pretty good chemistry. The chemistry, obviously, that you build as a team, and then I'm sure a lot of them don't see each other that often. Now you bring them back together, and boom, the chemistry's right there.
Yeah, no, it's exactly right. It's as if, it was just yesterday. They just fell back into their routine. But it was a close group, and you can't accomplish something like that without, just having like a really close-knit group with, good guys, hard workers, team players, good leaders. Everything. So, and the fact that so many of them showed up, we were just missing a couple of guys that were, one was out of the country or whatever, but they all came back from, California, Florida, from wherever they were. So it was a lot of fun. Glad we had the opportunity to do it. Coach Jones gave a, great message at halftime. So, they appreciated that. So, again, hopefully we can, do the same thing next year.
Yeah. And that was a fun time, and you sit there and you look at the guys come out on the floor and the fans reacting to them as well.
Right. Yeah,
And that was. I mean, I realized you were back. You were back in the locker room at the time, but the fans reacted, and it was a warm reaction to having them back, and overall it was a pretty cool scene.
Yeah, and I know they appreciated it too. I mean, I don't think they were expecting sort of everything that we did for them. Or I don't know what they were expecting, but they had a terrific time throughout the entire weekend. We were, the night before we were watching the game, at Chatters, the local spot, and we had a nice luncheon before the game for them where they, got to interact with some alums, and then we did something after the game as well. So it was a lot of time together, and I know they were sad to leave, and have to go back to their work and everything. But it was great to be able to do that.
Indeed, a fun weekend. We'll take another time out back to look forward to the game against Colgate as we continue on AU Hoop Talk.
In the Patriot League, our playbooks look a little different. Here, we play to win on the field, in the classroom, and in the community. A competitive athletic experience with high academic standards. Today's scholar athlete, tomorrow's leaders. That's the Patriot League.
Welcome to our sleepy little college town. You may have heard of us. Here we stand up for causes as naturally as we sit down for classes. We believe that knowledge, understanding, and discovery will make the world a better place, and that our contributions are only limited by our imaginations. Words, medals, and degrees don't make us who we are. Meaningful change does.
We are American.
And there's nothing we would rather be.
Welcome back to AU Hoop Talk, and we're moving forward to now we're set to begin already the second half of the season. And for you guys, it's a road game against Colgate. Dropped a tough one here to Colgate. First time you faced them, you actually out-rebounded the Raiders. What are you looking to do this time around in order to be able to pull one out on the road?
Looking back on the game, I mean, hopefully we'll just be more comfortable, with what we're doing. It was early on when Sam had just started playing the center spot. We played okay. We were up at times. We were up, with just a few minutes left. So it's definitely a winnable game. It's a winnable game. Hopefully we're just more comfortable with what we're doing offensively and defensively, which I think we've been, in the last few games. So hopefully we'll continue to sort of head in that direction.
And they have a lot of tough guys though that you've got to kind of think about, keep an eye on. It's not one of these teams where maybe they have one or two guys. I mean, the first time around they had 9 different guys that scored.
Yeah, and a good young group again, like we were talking about before. The freshman Burns is really good. Will Raymond's only a sophomore, but then they got guys that have been around. Obviously O'Brien is the leader of that group, and just him being on the court is a handful, regardless of what he does. Point wise and statistically, he just runs that team. A guy like Swapshire, is just a talented scorer. So it's it'll be a tough one, obviously up there, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see what we can do.
A lot more team bonding too, because you have the long road trip, right? Sitting on a bus for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours as the Eagles head up to the village of Hamilton for the game against Colgate. That'll do it for this edition of AU Hoop Talk. For Coach, I'm Dan. Good afternoon.